She had been ignored. By her team, by her manager, by the entire office. Meet Jasmine Carter, a talented analyst whose ideas were routinely overlooked in meetings. Until one day, she spoke. And when she did, the room went silent. Because the words she said didn't just make sense. They exposed the truth everyone had been avoiding. And by the end of that day, the office would never be the same again. Jasmine had been at Riverside Consulting for 3 years. She was sharp, punctual, articulate, and always prepared. Every proposal, spreadsheet, or report she submitted was immaculate. Yet, in every meeting, she was ignored. Thanks, Jasmine. Someone might mutter under their breath, but no one engaged with her ideas. Her contributions were dismissed, interrupted, or outright overlooked. Her manager, Thomas Greer, seemed oblivious, or worse, unconcerned. During brainstorming sessions, Thomas would ask for opinions. Any thoughts? Jasmine would start to speak. Someone else would jump in. Her point would be credited to someone else. It was subtle, but over time, it became painfully clear. Her voice didn't matter here. It was a Thursday afternoon. The office was packed. The quarterly strategy meeting was underway. Executives, analysts, and department leads sat around the long conference table. Thomas opened the floor. All right, team, let's discuss the Southeast expansion plan. Ideas flowed from everyone but Jasmine. She waited patiently as slides advanced and colleagues pitched half-baked suggestions. Finally, Thomas asked, any additional thoughts? Everyone looked around. Jasmine's hand was raised, slightly. Thomas noticed. Yes, Jasmine. She spoke clearly, confidently. I've reviewed the market data, and based on the latest trends, our expansion plan is riskier than projected. We're assuming growth that hasn't been validated, and if we proceed without adjusting our forecast, we could lose at least 15% in revenue next quarter. The room froze. Thomas blinked. Go on. Jasmine continued, calmly yet firmly, laying out specific numbers, projections, and strategic alternatives. She had prepared a deck, complete with charts, forecasts, and actionable steps. By the end of her presentation, the executives were quiet, not a word of interruption. Her data was irrefutable. Her solution was elegant. After Jasmine spoke, Thomas tried to regain control. This is insightful, he said hesitantly. Other team members, who had been dismissive before, now leaned in. Questions they might have asked her weeks ago went unasked, not out of lack of curiosity, but out of embarrassment. The silence in the room was telling. One junior analyst whispered to a colleague, I can't believe we've been ignoring her all this time. Another executive muttered, she was right all along. The tide had turned. Thomas realized the mistake he had made. For months, he had dismissed Jasmine's ideas, citing experience over perspective. Now, in front of the board and senior leadership, that bias was painfully visible. He tried to interject. Jasmine, let's discuss how we can refine this. Jasmine smiled politely. No, Thomas. I've already accounted for those scenarios. The numbers and recommendations are here, she said, gesturing to her presentation. The room nodded in agreement. Thomas sat back, silent, realizing that he had underestimated not only Jasmine, but the cost of ignoring her. The CEO of Riverside Consulting, Helen Graves, had been observing quietly. She leaned forward, looking directly at Jasmine. This is exceptional work. Thank you for bringing these insights to the table. The board murmured approval. What we've learned today, Helen continued, is that leadership is not just about authority. It's about listening, about valuing voices that have been overlooked. The message was clear. Jasmine's voice mattered more than anyone had realized. By the end of the week, Jasmine was promoted to lead analyst. Thomas underwent leadership training. Focusing on bias and inclusion, meetings were restructured to ensure everyone had a voice. Colleagues who had ignored Jasmine now sought her mentorship and advice. And internally, Jasmine's message spread. Silence doesn't mean acceptance, and ignored voices often hold the truth. Jasmine's experience is a reminder. Being ignored doesn't mean you are powerless. Speaking with clarity, confidence, and preparation can shift perspectives. Bias in the workplace has real consequences, sometimes costly, sometimes invisible, but justice can prevail. Sometimes the quiet voice is the one everyone needs to hear, and sometimes all it takes is one person to speak up for the truth, to finally be recognized. If you were in Jasmine's shoes, would you have spoken up sooner or stayed silent? Tell me in the comments. And if you want another story where speaking the truth changes everything, there's one on your screen right now.